Hey everyone, my name is Jamie King and I teach pre-K at the Jolly Center for Early Learning. Today I'm sharing my action research proposal focused on improving transition behaviors in my own pre-K classroom. I'm going to be doing this using predictable SEL, which stands for social emotional learning routines, and targeted small group supports. This is a work that grew out of a very real, desperate need. I was seeing daily challenges in our classroom, and I also designed this to support safe, calm, and developmentally appropriate transitions for my learners. My problem of practice is that several of my pre-K students were struggling with self-regulation during transitions. I often saw behaviors like pushing, racing to be first in line, ignoring my directions, and general conflict happening and arising throughout the day between peers. These moments, though they're very short, had a very big impact safety wise and disrupted the flow of my instructional time. This issue is happening on a daily basis, and it became very clear early on in the semester that transitions needed to be more structured and to provide more support for my students. The purpose of this study is to improve how my pre-K students move through daily transitions by strengthening their self-regulation and peer interactions. I'm focusing on predictable social emotional routines and some targeted support for a few select students who we'll talk about later who just need a little extra practice. My overall goal is to create smoother, calmer transitions that help the whole class feel safe and ready to learn. In the next slide, I'll talk about the 3 research questions that guided my work. These are the 3 questions driving my action research. First, I want to understand how students respond when SEL routines are used consistently during transitions. Second, I'm looking for patterns. What makes some transitions smoother and others more challenging? And third, I want to see how environmental adjustments like a new lineup routine, new spots on the carpet, spacing changes really influence student behavior. Together, these questions help me look closely at what's working and where students might need some support as we move throughout our day. This work matters because transition difficulties were not only interrupting instruction, but also creating a very unsafe environment. After meeting with our director and our special education coordinator, both of them had emphasized to me that transitions were the key pressure point and really encouraged me to make some structural adjustments and targeted SEL instruction for those specific students. This aligns directly with our school improvement plan goals related to SEL, as well as our PBIS. My project is grounded in Bandura's social cognitive theory, which emphasizes modeling, practice, and the influence of the environment on behavior. In early childhood, children watch us constantly and they imitate whatever we do. They are like sponges. And since they're constantly modeling us, it is very well known that we should be modeling positive behaviors. Chu, Rim and Kaufman, Castle, all of these different researchers reinforce that predictable routines and explicit social emotional learning instruction really strengthens self-regulation for young learners. The research is very consistent across early childhood settings. Studies on the pyramid model, and if you are in pre-K, you know what that is, show when SEL routines are predictable and teachers receive support, classrooms see fewer challenging behaviors and stronger self-regulation. Upshur and colleagues found that programs like Second Step improve executive functioning and emotional control, which directly supports smoother transitions. And Davis also notes that simple teacher strategies like clear commands and praise reduce disruptive behavior. These findings explain why predictable routines and modeling are so central to my action research. Research also shows, oh, I'm sorry. My notes got mixed up. For this study, I am using a qualitative action research design. I believe that this approach really makes the most sense for my classroom because my goal is to understand what transitions actually look like and feel like for students in real time. Instead of focusing on numerical test scores, I will be collecting observational evidence, student artifacts, and reflections that help me see the why behind their behaviors. Action research also fits because it lets me study my own practice while making improvements at the same time. My focus is on what is happening during transitions and how students respond to different routines and what helps them regulate more successfully. My study takes place in my pre-K classroom at Jolly Center for Early Learning. I have 19 students, ages 4 to 5, and I work alongside a full-time parapro. She's incredible. The three students, Liam, Tucker, and Johnny, need extra support with their behavior and self-regulation. So I'll be paying close attention to these three students and how they respond to the routines and small group supports that I put in place. I already have permission from my site leadership to conduct the study, and all students are assigned pseudonyms in this report to protect their confidentiality. To understand what is happening during transitions, I will be collecting four main types of data. First, I'll take observation notes during transitions throughout the day. Next, I'll keep a running teacher reflection log, which is where I'm going to jot down what went smoothly, what did not, and maybe some adjustments that I can try the next day. I will also gather student artifacts like simple SEL check-ins and drawings that my students make and kind of see how they are feeling. Finally, my parapro will share quick observations about how students respond to prompts or the routines, like hopping like a bunny or slither like a snake, or if you're wearing blue shoes, line up on 3, 1, 2, 3. And together, these sources will give me a full picture of what students are experiencing. For analysis, I will use a simple qualitative coding process that is manageable in my very busy pre-K class. Every day is like a whirlwind. It gets pretty busy. So as I review my notes each day, I'll look for repeating patterns, things like peer conflicts that arise throughout the day, positive responses to those cues that I'm giving them, emotional regulation, or confusion about the routines. Something as simple as I didn't hear it. Maybe I need a microphone. As these patterns show up, I will group them into larger themes that help explain what supports smoother transitions. I'll also triangulate the data by comparing my notes with para feedback and student artifacts just to make sure that I'm not relying too heavily on one source. This helps keep the findings trustworthy and grounded in what's actually happening. And to keep the study ethical and credible, I'll use pseudonyms as mentioned before. And keep all notes securely stored. I'm not going to leave my notes out on a table for anyone to just see. I'll also check in with my parapro and the director just to make sure that interpretations actually make sense. That helps reduce the bias since I am both the teacher and the researcher in this instance. Using multiple data sources also increases the credibility of this study. And throughout the cycle, I'll be mindful of equity, making sure that the routines support every child, especially those who need more structure, and in order to feel more successful during those transitions. And last but not least, I do expect that the study will give me a clearer picture of the consistent routines. I'm hoping that it will help us learn which strategies make the biggest difference and which ones are sustainable. We do have limited staffing. I am in a general education classroom. There's just me, the certified teacher, and my parapro. We are not inclusion and do have that limited staffing. Like I said, the ideas that emerge from this cycle will help refine my own transitions, but I think it'll also be useful for our entire pre-K team as we look for ways to reduce conflict and strengthen self-regulation school-wide. I plan to share these findings maybe during post-planning, maybe pre-planning next year, during a team meeting or something, but definitely with our SEL and PBIS groups so that what I learned through this study can support our broader instructional goals across the entire building. Thank you so much for listening to my action research, and I am looking forward to hearing more feedback. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye bye.